Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coast to Coast podcast. I'm here with my main man, Tori, Mr. Maverick. We took last week off, but I think thankfully we did because there wasn't really much to talk about 1 week ago, and then fast forward to now, there's a ton to talk about. We're doing something a little different than normal. We're recording this early morning for me, 9 a.m. Normally we do this at night, so maybe we'll have an extra pep in our step. Who knows about that? But it's Canada Day special, episode 20. Honestly, when we started this, I wasn't sure if we would make it this far.
Yeah.
I just want
We're just starting to get a little bit of momentum, even though the sports aren't really there. So
we're starting to, yeah, for sure. I think now that training camps and we'll get into this deeper hubs that are starting to open, we're gonna probably have more to talk about, so that we can go back to a once a week kind of episode, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, just full disclosure, it's hard right now to kind of, have a whole lot of material to go off of. So I think I can speak for both of us where we're kind of doing a little bit more winging of stuff these days than actual research.
Yeah.
I mean, there is stuff where I'm always doing research myself. I'm always looking at stuff. I know I kind of spammed you a bit last week to kind of show you a little bit of an insight onto kind of the stuff I'm picking up and how the time between, like the frequency of how I look at this kind of stuff. So I'm always kind of looking at stuff, but I mean, whether it kind of sitting in the top of my brain or not is a different situation.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult with everything going on in the world and no sports being played to actually focus on the drama, the intricacies of sports and all that's going on. But it's starting to pick up again, so it's only a matter of time before. I was gonna just say a matter of time before we're talking about the games and the drama on the ice.
Injuries,
for one,
stuff like that.
Brad Marchand punching
itself.
someone in the back of the head or something. Yeah.
I mean, with the NHL, it's kind of different because oh crap, who was it? I was reading on Twitter last night. I actually think it was an unnamed player. They're just asking if they're actually going to play. And apparently in the NHL, they see themselves as having a different culture than other sports. Now, it could be taken in a bad light, depending if you want to reference that versus other things going on right now. But in what they were talking about was just, there's a lot of players that apparently do not want to come back. Like in their entire life, this is summer, right? This is family time. This is their off time. This is their recovery or strength and conditioning training, or, working on things in their game they want to be better for next year. So a lot of players are apparently not necessarily worried about coming back and playing, but they're worried about coming back and playing and chancing getting sick or contracting COVID or getting hurt just before they have to pack in next season as well.
Yeah.
So they're worried that it's not just about this season. It's about this season and next season and what it's going to take to get back on quote-unquote track in the sport of the NHL. And basically they were just saying that with the culture of the NHL, a lot of these players may say, I really don't want to play. It's the summer, but they're not going to opt out. They're going to play. And there's also a lot more, the NHL has high revenues. So there's a lot of money that they'd be missing out to not play. So if you take the political issues out, because a lot of them are not in there in the sport of hockey, you got to think that hockey probably has the best chance to kind of get back into the quote-unquote swing of things.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying on the other podcast too. I think I laid it out there that I don't know if I did this on the podcast or if it was in my recent video of how we might lose the MLB season, blah blah blah. But I was talking about how I felt the league that had the best chance to start up again was going to be the NHL, and it strictly was because of the political reasons, but also the geographic reasons, and the fact that the NHL has all these Canadian teams, and really a majority of the support from the fan base is from Canada as well. So they always had that fallback that they kind of had two countries to be able to host their season or their playoffs should they kick off again. And I know in other sports, like the MLB, it's going to be an issue that has to be crossed, having an international league.
Especially when there's only one team. Like if there's multiple teams like the NHL, you kind of have to broad form it and say, Canada and US, where with the MLB, if Canadian government, like they just gave permission this morning where they can hold training camp.
Mm-hmm.
But training camp and then having a team come up for 5 days and then go back to the States and then a different team come up for 5 days and then go back to the States is a completely different
coming
monster.
From all these different cities where metro cities where really, let's be honest, is where the disease is more rampant than other places.
Or at least comparing to where they're going to be coming, it's way worse to Toronto. So it's a high chance of bringing something that we don't want or that could have otherwise been prevented, I guess is a better way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to circle back. I kind of read the same thing that you were talking about how the players, they kind of just seem to voted to play because that's kind of what the union was behind, and they kind of all stick together in terms of that. I think I remember reading that 75% of players actually didn't want to come back. That
was the estimated number.
Yeah, so
broad estimation from the net player.
I can understand it if it's like if you're a kid and you're going to school and then this COVID thing happens and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're gonna start school up again. You're coming back for the summer to do all your exams, to do all your tests, to do all the hardest part of the school year. And then but then you don't get time off really. You're gonna be right back in the school again.
You're gonna go right back into next year's right at the end of this thing.
Yeah.
And like it sucks because this is unprecedented and there's no precedent to really to compare it to and to see how we can get through this, but or to see what normal will be coming out of this. But I think that it's going to be a road where each sport has to navigate it individually, and I think it's going to be more complex for other sports than some sports than other sports. But I mean, hockey podcast, so I think we're most interested in hockey coming back.
Yeah,
and I think that provides some excitement for us because I think we know deep down inside, barring a second wave or a like crazy spike, we're probably going to see hockey. I mean, there's nothing else kind of getting in
unless
its way.
for somehow an outbreak happens in one of these hub cities and they don't really catch it quick, whereas like 20% of the people get it somehow, or even like 10%, 5% probably will be pretty drastic, but it's gonna be hard.
Well, the Ontario government just said that you have to start wearing face masks in outdoor places or indoor places. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. So I don't know when that's effective. I feel like it's effective today moving forward, but I'm not entirely sure. But you have like places like us or other places in Canada as well, who are trying to do their best to just keep every individual as safe as possible. So I'm kind of glad, and I'm not surprised that it was announced on Canada Day of all days, that the hub cities are going to be in Edmonton and Toronto. Yeah. I think they were waiting for that. I think they probably told Vegas, like, you know what? Here's your deadline. Canada Day, if you can't get enough of these numbers in order, we're going to make our decision on that day. And that's why I think it came on this day and why Vegas was a favorite. The first time where I heard Vegas was no longer the favorite was probably about 48 hours ago, which also leads me to believe that, you know, the timer was running out, that the sand was coming out of the bottom of the hourglass, right? And they just couldn't get it done. So NHL defaulted to picking Edmonton and Toronto.
I don't know how closely you follow the actual COVID numbers, but Canada has been on a very big decline, and whereas the states, specifically the southern states, where Vegas would have fallen, are starting to reach record highs each day. So, is it really smart of the NHL to pick a city that is really the biggest risk to contract COVID? Probably.
Would you be considered liable for that?
I would assume. I think it's safe to say that there might be some waivers being signed, but you can be considered liable. You can when it comes to disease.
If you're the NHL and you have a viable choice, saying Edmonton or Vegas, and you choose Vegas, and then all these people get sick, or you could have otherwise picked Edmonton, and I see some legal issues there.
Yeah, you're an insurance guy, and the same thing can be said though in the cities they chose. Like if they don't have something, like when it comes to disease and insurance and like being liable, it has to do with if you know about something and you force them to work and like you don't have any precautions to keep them away from it. Like it's very, very hard to find someone liable for disease, mainly because you can't prove where you got it.
Exactly. You can't prove that intent and whatnot, or the I can't remember the other word I'm looking for, but
basically the proximate cause. You can't link where it all started. Like, even if they're playing hockey here, they could be out for a jog and run by someone that just coughed a big.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I'm finding interesting is they were talking about. I was listening to TSN yesterday, and it wasn't about hockey; it was about something else. But the point is that like some of these athletes who have already contracted COVID, in particular the basketball guy, not Murray, the other guy on his team, the big guy, the centerman or power forward, I can't remember.
I'm not great with basketball.
Yeah, my point more so saying that is they were kind of saying like Jamal Murray, who is a smaller player, a guard or a forward, seems to be doing okay, where this big, who's probably 4 or 5 inches taller and probably 40, 50, 60 pounds heavier, is still struggling with the complications like weeks later. So, I mean, does it hit bigger people harder, which would be, okay, like a person like Chara, if he gets it. But then also you look at a guy like Matthews who has it and was only announced in the last few weeks. This basketball player is still feeling the effects months later.
No, and that's...
What happens if it goes through a change room and it just... You see your favorite players and you're like, they've got nothing.
Yeah, the hardest thing from what I've heard from people that have contracted it is just getting your athletic top back. Like you're just out of breath faster from working out. It's harder to get to that athletic peak that you were at. So part of what I was talking about in our group chat about how I'm sure it's interesting to see how athletes, the top human specimens, are going to be reacting to this. And like, it doesn't surprise me. Like, I was just gonna say to circle to that big man part. Like, I think it's out there that big people in general tend to have like heart issues and have a more likelihood to pass away at a younger age just because of those things. So it doesn't surprise me that something that affects the heart, lungs area could affect a big man in the NBA a little harder.
And I mean, we don't know any of these players who have sports-induced asthma, or if they have other complications. I mean, we know that Max Domi and Capo Caco have diabetes, so it's like they're at risk. So what happens if, like, I just always goes back to Matthews just because he was one of the only confirmed cases. I mean, Matthews is a big boy, and if you're a defenseman, you're either going to try to take the puck off of him or separate his body from the puck. But if you come in, you get him on a really good clean, and then he goes... Because like you take the air out of him and he goes right all over your face, and now you get it.
No,
like it's a completely possible scenario, right?
Yeah, well, Matthews won't be allowed to play. He's not going to be allowed to play.
He won't.
He's not going to be allowed to play unless he tests negative, guaranteed.
And that's the thing is like, what was it? I think it was the NFL. Somebody was talking, just saying. Because they were talking about high ankle sprains. I think that was for football because that makes sense for a lot of high ankle sprains. But they were saying that like week to week, it's like, this guy's out 3 weeks with an ankle sprain. This guy's out 5 weeks with an ankle sprain. And he's just saying like an ankle sprain sucks, it hurts, but you can't play because you can't support your body, you can't turn, you can't pivot. If you now equate that to COVID, where it's just like, okay, he can't play for 3 or 4 weeks, regardless if it's COVID, high ankle sprain, whatever. He's unavailable for 3 weeks.
Yep.
What happens if you get that news the day of Game 7 and it's Austin Matthews or your starting goalie? What if it's Tampa and Vasilevsky tests positive?
That's the way she goes, dude. It's gonna be sabotage. You're gonna have hired hitmen out there with vials of COVID trying to. I'm just joking. I hope that doesn't.
I'm not gonna accuse anything, and I would hate to see that this was ever possible. We've seen everything happen in playoffs, in any sport, any advantage you can take to win. What happens if you know of a player who's not feeling well and he plays anyways, and I don't know, let's just say it's a Kyle Clifford, and you just tell him, just get in on the goalie, just stand on top of the goalie. All of a sudden, their star defenseman and their star goalie all of a sudden have it, comes out, Clifford had it. Okay, now the Leafs lose their worst forward, but the other team might lose
like a suicide bomber
and their star defenseman.
I would hope the ethics of the players are higher than this, but like once money is involved, I know I don't want to go down some crazy rabbit hole.
Is it going to be if you show but if you show up to the rink and you have a fever, you get your test and it comes back negative.
Yeah.
What happens if you go play and then all of a sudden the next day it comes back positive? Like, there's going to be situations like this in a league of 24 teams that's playing.
Yeah, and from what I understand, so there's some tests out there that have as high as 25% chance of a false positive, which is insane.
What happens if that happens and you lose your best player that game, and then he comes back and he tests the next day and it's negative, and you've sat your best player no reason.
Yeah,
there's going to be complications.
It's going to be it's going to make for some interesting podcasts. Let's be honest.
It will.
I do kind of want to bring. I'm glad you kind of brought this up about Matthews. I just wanted to get your opinion on Steve Simmons, because I've known this guy's been around for a long ass time. I didn't realize he had this reputation of kind of scummy reporting. I'm going to call it scummy because, to me, coming out and announcing that the star player of the major city of hockey has COVID and breaking the news and all this.
Especially when the organization backed him up and said, we said nothing.
What do you mean?
So there's dirty. And the Leafs basically said, we have not released any information. And
so the
players haven't released any information.
There's someone dirty in
found out somehow.
Yeah. If someone doesn't lose their job, I'd be very surprised. And we might not hear who it is or whatnot. But I just want to say that Steve Simmons broke this story about Matthews having COVID. I think is completely ridiculous. I understand reporting and they're all going for the clicks and stuff, but
sorry, ridiculous as in him reporting it, or ridiculous as in Matthews has COVID?
Him reporting it. I think that's ridiculous.
That's what I thought. I just want to make
I don't think he has any right to release that kind of crap. It
would be like reporting that you found out somebody was gay or something like that. And it would be like, that's not your business to put out there. It's personal information.
Let's just say a player goes to counseling all the time and they have nightmares about their father that beat them or some shit like that, and then you somehow get their counselor to talk and then report on that. Is just I don't know if there's nothing. I don't know if there is something illegal about this. It feels like there is, because medical information is supposed to be privy.
It's a breach of privacy.
Exactly. So some
capacity.
There should be some sort of legal obligation to come from that. I don't know. I don't know if Steve Simmons, because I know his argument is basically, it's news, I report it.
I'm not gonna.
I don't know. I've heard he's had a history, so I was just gonna. I don't know if there is.
He's the type of guy where he was in the paper a few different times with couple different papers.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think it was the Toronto Star and then the Sun.
He was in. I remember him in the Sun.
Yeah, his articles always got a lot of kickback because he always wrote about the questionable stuff or about the stuff on the borderline.
Yeah.
And he's taken it too far a few times. I cannot stand the guy. He's on the radio, whatever. I change the channel or I turn it off. Every word he says, he just sounds like a pompous, stuck up, what's the word, invasious or invading kind of person. He just seems like he wants to tell everybody about your dirty stuff. He will not put himself in the line of any firing squad. When he gets questioned about stuff, he'll back down. And you start pushing him and prodding him about stuff, he'll just get mad at you about certain things. And it's just you're not answering. There's a clip on TSN. I don't remember who it is, but it says, Steve, you're not answering the question. It's just a clip, and they play it all the time. And it was a couple of years ago, but they were he started saying all this stuff on the radio, and somebody legitimate, a reporter or a scout, or I can't remember who it was, but somebody who knows what they're talking about started saying, okay, well, if you want to keep reporting all this, what about this, Steve? What about this, Steve? And he kept deflecting and deflecting. He's like, answer the question, Steve. And they just have that clip. So it's just funny because he's just that type of guy where when things get complex, he finds a rock to hide under, but he's the first one to instigate and initiate bullshit. So it's just kind of I got no time for him. I don't like him. I don't like him, and that's just the best I can say about him. I don't understand how he's on Sportsnet He's on the radio
because
every
he
few
gets
days,
story. He gets the
understand it.
stories. He breaks the news, and that gets them the clicks, and that gets them the revenue. Really.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate way of doing things. I don't like him anymore. I didn't really know much about him, but this whole incident put a spotlight on him for me, and I just couldn't believe that.
He was the one that made up the hot dog story with Kessel, that he saw him eating hot dogs after a game and called him lazy and all that other stuff. And they said, okay, well, where did you see him? And he's like, oh, well, I just saw him. Well, where did you see him? Oh, it was after a game. Where? Where did you see him? Oh, it was in Toronto. Okay, sure, cool, Steve. Like, give it up what you're talking about, or don't say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was out that night going for a walk, and I got a hot dog, and him and I chatted, and he, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, some legitimate details to your story. Don't just say, oh, I saw him eating hot dogs, and he's a fat, lazy slob. That's not very nice to say.
I forgot about hot dog gate.
But yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up while we're going through the issues there. Do you want to go over the Lotto and how that went down? Because that went down this past week too. Like, shit's going down.
It snuck up on me. I didn't know until the morning. It's like the draft lottery tonight. I was like, snap.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. That was me too. I didn't watch it. I never really watch the lottos because. Did you watch it?
Don't make it enough of a thing. It's boring. I love watching everything, but that's boring.
Yeah, I'm gonna just put up. You're not gonna see it, but just kind of the results. I think like clearly there's a couple of interesting things here. Number one being where the number one pick is going. We don't know, which is was kind of ironic going into this, that this was possible. With a lot
of people think it was set up this way to create intrigue.
Everyone's
gonna watch.
Wouldn't put it past it. It honestly makes. Hey, if NHL is the only sport on the TV. Well, I can't even say that because like NASCAR, golf, and all that's out there. But one of the team sports,
major of the four sports,
major team sports on TV. Although baseball will be back around the same time. But they have this first round of playoffs. Playoffs alone are exciting, but also the loser.
Play-ins, they're not playoffs.
The play-ins. Sorry. Did they ever talk about? I haven't seen it. If they're going to do the draft pick lotto right after the play-ins, or they must, right? Because
haven't announced really the exact time frame, but yeah,
they normally.
I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of waited a bit.
Really? Yeah, I guess maybe they don't want to take away from the play. I don't know. I feel like you want to get out of the way though.
Like they're gonna have to do that second lottery, and I feel like they're going to announce like the lottery order after that first play-in, and I think they're gonna let that first round happen. And then I could see maybe them announcing either after the first round or maybe just before the conference finals.
Yeah, I can see that
because the teams are gonna have to know a little bit in advance. You can't just finish the season then go into draft. And like here's the other interesting about the draft. I don't know if you caught this, but Steve Yzerman took a shot at the Arizona Coyotes.
No, I didn't.
I think I talked about it a couple times how Arizona was basically cheating and illegally scouting and testing prospects.
Yep.
And they could be fined up to $250,000 per event, which could be and picks. But basically, somebody asked Steve Yzerman, who is now the GM of the Red Wings, kind of, what is your take on the draft when you don't have the combine, when you don't have all this time to go scout, when you don't have juniors playoffs to see who can take those last few weeks and really change their stock? And Yzerman said, yeah, well, we're all in the same boat except for one team.
Oh, he didn't name the
shot at Arizona.
That's
he
hilarious.
Didn't name them, but we know who he's talking about, right? He said all the teams are on the same page except for one. So we know he took that shot at Arizona.
Yeah, I think this is very this is going to be a number one draft pick possibly that we've never seen before, where it could be a top 15 team really that wins this draft pick. So any team that's in the play-in round, whoever loses they have a 12.5% chance at that number 1 pick. And there's going to be some interesting teams that lose this first round. Like, we have the Penguins, we have the Leafs, we have the Oilers, we have the Blackhawks, we have Jets, we have Predators, we have all these teams. Like, it's...
I mean, I don't know. It will be most interesting to see when the upsets happen.
Yeah.
But I honestly... my gut, I know that I was texting you teams and saying I see blue and these other things that whatever, and like we don't know, nobody knows yet unless the NHL has already done the thing, which I doubt it. But my gut is telling me it's the Pittsburgh-Montreal series.
Oh, okay.
My gut tells me that the loser of that series goes in and wins the lottery. Okay. I don't know what it is, but it's just telling me Montreal, and then obviously.
I'm just gonna
to lose then.
Yeah, I'm just of the opinion that if the Coyotes lose, they're even though they have all this bad karma. I don't know. I think the Taylor Hall rabbit's foot that teams seem to have when they have him on his team, if you want to call it that, the Coyotes will come out with number 1.
You're saying Coyotes?
Only if they lose.
Like I've been saying, I over the last few drafts, I've been watching, and this means nothing. This is just
it's just theory craft.
My personal
theory crafts, yeah.
But I honestly believe if you look at what happens, it has been happening in the draft. Teams who do good things and the teams who do things proper and don't try to cheat the system, and don't try to sit good players to try and get better draft picks and all these things. These karma things that these teams are doing, I think actually help them. Look at Toronto. Toronto did the wrong thing for so long. It wasn't until they did the right thing and just said, you know what? If we draft first, we draft fourth, we draft seventh, who cares? We have to rebuild. We're going to do things the right way, and we'll take what we get. Win the lottery. Look at Edmonton. They did the wrong thing for so many years, yet they still got the first overall pick. I say that because the Lotto system was flawed. So they kept just happening to win it. It wasn't until they started doing the right thing and kind of got McDavid that the karma turned around and they started getting these guys and they started getting some of their second and third rounders to turn into prospects. And you look at these teams like Buffalo. I mean, I hate to pick on Buffalo and kick them while they're down, but like they're doing the wrong things right now. And
it shows with the last pace draft pick and that.
It does, and it should, like these teams that keep losing and keep falling down the draft picks. You look at them. I mean, here's another theory. You look at Ottawa. Ottawa had the 2 picks in the top 2. Which pick was it that got them the 3? It wasn't theirs.
Yeah, it was the worst.
It was San Jose's pick.
Yep.
It was because they did the right thing and they traded Carlson and they were doing the right thing. So yeah, they didn't get the perfect lottery situation. Even the San Jose pick was higher than their own pick because they were just doing what they needed to do. So I believe that we should be looking at teams that are doing the right thing and trying to just move forward. And right now, Montreal has all this cap room. They can't get anybody to come there. They're kind of built for now, but they're not good enough for now. But they still have some good pieces in Weber and Price. They just need like a scorer, preferably a center. But obviously Lafreniere's a winger. So obviously the French-Canadian connection the last couple of years, they've been trying to force things. This year they finally just let things be what they're going to be. So I just have a feeling it's Montreal.
I'm going to say it's going to the Coyotes or the Rangers.
I could see that.
Rangers, if the Rangers can pick up a number 1 pick right here after the way their team was playing down the stretch, they'll be, and they kind of like going back to your theory. They kind of did the right thing.
Don't say they've been doing good. They haven't been. They've been treating their prospects like garbage.
But they sent out a letter to their fans, Tori, and said, we're rebuilding, chill out.
I know, I believe that they were doing all these good things. And then they started being cheap and being dicks to their prospect, one being Elias Anderson. And they started having the 3-goalie system. They pissed off King Lundqvist.
Yeah, that 3-goalie system was awful.
They started doing these things. Oh, I don't know. I feel like they were doing the right
things. I also think their biggest
hurdle
to winning is going to be that they might actually win their play-in series. So against the Hurricanes.
Can we take a quick pause?
Sure. All right. I don't really remember what we were talking about. We were talking about the Lotto, but I think we're in between subjects. I don't know. Do you have anything else you wanted to really touch on? I had a couple other things. I don't.
Just maybe talking about the play-ins again. We were kind of touching on the Lotto there. I've been doing a bit of a mock draft, but we can kind of attack that later.
Yeah. Do we know what day the season actually starts yet, or the play-ins? I don't think so, right? I know baseball has been decided.
I think camp opens on the 10th.
Okay. And it's 2 weeks.
And then I think games start the last week.
Okay. So, like, baseball's actually going to be on the field first.
Maybe. No, I'm not a believer baseball will actually happen.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry, are we recording or are we just chatting?
Yeah, no, I started back up again. We can.
Cool. I wasn't sure.
So, I guess one other thing that I saw this morning is the salary cap.
That's a good one.
It seems that it's not going up for 2 years.
3.
I thought the third year it went up like the tiniest amount, like $500,000 or something. Really,
they're planning on it not moving at all, or they've told teams to plan on not moving at all.
That sucks because I'm sure teams like Toronto have planned to have at least it go up in their plan, but
I don't know if I believe in that because I feel like, I mean, specifically on the Leafs, I feel like it's tough for me because I've been balancing rosters based on trying to look at long-term fits on teams, but also look at expansion situations.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, if somebody has a bunch of good forwards, well, it doesn't matter 2-3 years from now because one of them is going to get taken out of expansion, and then you're probably going to have to fill that spot with a prospect, right? So with the Leafs in particular, I feel like they're already looking at trading 2 or 3 players for laters or for futures.
Yeah.
Or turning 2 or 3 middling kind of cap numbers into a 1 situation. So like trade 3 B players for 1 A- player kind of situation. So I feel like they're going to kind of clean the deck in that way. And I think the Leafs actually specifically are set up for something really special this summer.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they're going to do something big. I don't know what. I can't put my finger on it, but they've got so many pieces on. They've got probably 4 or 5 pieces that are ready now. So like teams that are struggling to have pieces could get 3 or 4 good, solid contributors for one of their pieces.
Okay.
I don't know who's going to fit there, but I feel like a lot of teams are going to be looking at expansion, looking at this news and saying, who are the guys we're paying more than $3 million to that we really don't.
That we can fill with like a $2 million or $1.5 million or. Yeah, I see the salary cap thing being a big issue for teams that carry contracts like the Louis Eriksson contracts or like those heavy ones that are long term, lots of dollars and just eat up.
I sorry to interrupt though, but I feel like we're going to be given one compliance buyout.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this. There's a whole podcast dedicated to this when we were going through COVID. That buyouts were coming. Like they got to be coming. If teams are going to be expected,
have to give one.
It'll be good. It'll be good for a lot of teams. But
like, you could go around and pick a lot of contracts like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just killing teams, especially if you go look at the teams who. There's some teams out there like the Torontos, the New Yorks, the Montreals, whatever, who can pay and afford to pay these guys these money when they're not on the cap. The Hortons, the Clarksons, whatever, right?
Yeah.
The Marleau buyouts, whatever. I feel like the middle or lower teams, the Anaheims, the Vancouvers, the Buffaloes, whatever, are going to have to ask some of these teams. I know I've mentioned this before. The one thing that I feel it's going to happen is Anaheim Ducks are going to trade Ryan Kessler. There's a couple different things I'm thinking of, but he'll be traded to the Leafs, so the Leafs can buy him out.
Yeah.
I think they're going to end up with Manson, the defenseman, within that package, and then would get 2 or 3 of those B-level players I was referring to that, shuffle the deck, reshuffle the deck. Here's 2 or 3 roster players and a couple prospects, and
yeah, this whole off season, like playoff off season, and then next season, if it goes according to plan, it's going to come at us quick, and we're going to be rolling for a while here with hockey talk, I think. So that, at the very least, is something to be excited about. You brought something up that I kind of forgot about with the expansion draft. Like, they haven't announced. They announced that their arena was a little bit delayed, didn't they? And then they also announced.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos bought the naming rights to the arena. I'm gonna butcher what it's called now. I forget what it's called, but he basically named it.
I forget what it's called too. Something silly, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it has to do with being a healthy planet, climate pledge arena. That's it. So it's like trying to virtue signal a little bit that we need to get the climate up, and this arena is going to pledge. And apparently, this arena is going to be pretty futuristic in the fact that it's going to have a lot of green energy and all that stuff. Green water. Jesse wasn't wrong in saying green water for the ice.
Yeah.
They're going to fly it in from the Amazon. Not actually, but yeah, so
self-sustaining and low footprint and all that other stuff too.
Yeah. It's interesting. He's getting involved. Jeff Bezos, he's from the Seattle area. That's where he grew up. So it's not a surprise for him to kind of he's been kind of hidden in the political game of things for a while now. So it's kind of hard to go unavoided when you're the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting name. Not really a sponsor of a product or company that way.
Yeah.
More of
actually a mega center.
Just a billionaire naming it to try to make a change, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it fits in for the area, right? Like a lot of people accuse Seattle for being quote unquote hipster. So I mean, it kind of fits the new age kind of thinking, if you want to call it that. Is somewhat prevalent in Seattle. I mean, I think what you're kind of getting at there, asking is like, do we think that they're still going to be coming in on time?
Yeah,
I honestly feel like everything's changed.
Yeah, I think
I feel like they're not coming in next year anymore. How can they?
They weren't supposed to come in the next season. It was the season after, right?
2020. I thought it was the 2020-2021 season. I thought that they were supposed to be coming in, like there was supposed to be expansion this off season. I thought. Could be wrong.
I think we had one more season to go.
I think it's after next year.
Yeah, it was 2021. Yeah, we had one more season to go. But I'm with you still. Like I think they probably will come in on time as long as everything goes the way it is, because it's kind of set up for, if they come in on time, that everything would be back to normal anyway by then. Normal.
I think it affects more on the prospect side, because the prospect clock that keeps people protected. I think people went in knowing, like, I think you kind of got to give these general managers knowledge, saying, hey, you got 2 years until this is happening.
Yeah.
If you plan all of your expansion and your prospects and trades based on 2 years out, and then they bump it a third year, well, then you could have kept those players. Or
yeah, you make decisions based on that's the specific year that you're. I don't see them changing it.
I don't think they can. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it makes things way more complex.
Yeah, and it would probably screw teams over that have been planning a specific strategy for years, and like trading off this player 2 years ago so that 3 years from now we can be fine. Like, they just can't. I don't see them being able to do that. They do say though that Seattle is going to come out with their team logo and all that really soon. We'll see. We'll see what they go with.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point they've almost probably even been told by the NHL, maybe just hold off for now and
probably until after the playoffs
be in the news.
Yeah,
let us get our season back going. Let us.
That's true.
Through COVID, and then once we maybe finish the playoffs, then we can start talking about Seattle and whatever, and then talk about free agency, and then do the entry draft, and then talk about what we're going to do for preseason and whatnot. And I think that's probably going to be they'll probably wait, because I mean, even the trades, they wait till the cup's kind of dealt, like, because all the other teams can still make trades, right?
right now.
If you're not playing, you can make a trade.
Oh, I did not know that.
Or if you made it, like the Leafs could trade somebody, but then that player wouldn't be eligible.
Yeah, okay.
They could trade minor league players, for example, if they really wanted to.
They just
don't. An AHL for an AHL, they could. It's just both players wouldn't be able to play for their real teams.
Yeah.
That being said, it just made me think actually what I texted you yesterday about how the NHL is basically putting it out to the players and owners and stuff just to do a vote and just say, hey, do we want to allow anyone that's currently on the roster, including new free agent signings and European signings, whatever? Because the idea is, well, they're not going to be playing next year. And if they aren't eligible for this season, these kids and these European younger guys and whatever, they'll be sitting without their teams, without their teammates. Some of them Europeans maybe don't speak English, all this other stuff, right? For what, 5-6 months, and then training, and then start in what you would know as mid-season next year.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, right? I feel like if the NHL says, you know what, screw it, this is going to be the best playoffs we've ever had anyways because everyone's healthy, other than COVID and whatever.
And it's intense.
Do we want to just say open the doors and whatever the best rosters are we can get on the ice to compete against each other, let's do it.
I think the only concern is that there's that small, I don't know if it's small minority or not, there's a group of people that think the asterisk on this season is there already and it's going to be there. And would this just make that asterisk even bigger? I know you and me have discussed this in full, that the asterisk to us doesn't mean shit. But I don't know. Do they just want that other distraction as to this champion? That's the only thing I would think that would hold them back. Whether they care or not, I have no idea.
Sorry, 1 second.
All good.
A text from a scout. No, I'm just kidding.
Insider info. I've been putting some thought into. I really want to make sure that we have.
Oh, Alistair.
I'm working on.
Struggling a little bit with Alistair right now.
Okay.
Watch your foot.
Give him a good slap.
So tied up the power cords. Those of you out there that don't know, I got a new puppy. Just under 2. He's really cute, but he doesn't listen particularly well. Lay down. Go outside in a minute, okay? No belly rubs. I'll have to take him outside in a few minutes, so.
It's all good. I only had one other thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know. And it's really nothing to do. Well, it has to do with hockey. I want to. I'm setting up a playoff pool for this hockey. Kind of want to get your thoughts on format. I know we've talked about it a little bit. I'm starting to think that there'll be there'll be a buy-in, and then half of it will be for the play-in round, and then half of it will be for the bracket. But I still haven't really quite thought. I got quite a few people that are interested, so. Just kind of my idea really right now is just obviously picking winners and then getting extra point for picking like how many games. I guess that's usually the typical thing. Sometimes I don't like that
scored maybe or something.
It could be like a tiebreaker too, or like goal differential maybe.
You probably want some sort of tiebreak unless you're just gonna split.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I really want to have something going for this because fantasy we don't have, and fantasy playoffs is too much work.
Yeah, there hasn't been any update, by the way, for what's happening or potentially happening with fantasy. I've left it alone, so we'll see. I mean, if it's a matter of just replacing them and moving forward, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when it gets there, I guess, right?
Exactly. I'm not too worried about it right now, but I'm totally down for some sort of playoff pool. I would like that.
Yeah, cool. Guess we'll figure out more once we know start dates and stuff. But I definitely have some interest. I think I got 3 or 4 people on my end over here that are
What's the buy-in gonna be?
I haven't decided. I was thinking maybe just $20. I don't know.
Okay, I was gonna say I won't do any more than 50. 50 would be the tops for me. So 20, 25, 50.
I would love to do 50, but I also need to find that threshold where people will join, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I'd be good for 20, 25. That's probably ideal for me.
Yeah, I think 20 is easiest to get people. Hey, it's just for fun. Even like your recreational hockey watchers, like, hey, just hand me a $20 bill and fill out this sheet and send it back to me, and And then Tori and I on the pod will go over the statistics of who picks what, and yeah, but cool. That's really all I got
Perfect,
today.
man.
There's been a lot. Yep.
There's been a lot, and I mean, we've missed a little bit, but I think we're going to have some momentum with actual, like, information. I know that when I'm kind of just given maybes or, like, a little bit stuff here and there, I can kind of craft a lot of theory stuff, but, like, I want to talk about real stuff. I want to break down matchups. I want to watch some real hockey, so, like...
Exactly. I want to talk about the fucking dirty hit that Tom Wilson laid out, or...
Exactly.
Should it be a suspension? Should it not be a suspension? I really do not want to talk about COVID impacting this, so I really hope it's clean. I know it's probably next to impossible for us to have a clean playoff with it, but hopefully, like, I'm more excited for the time. Like, if they go with this Olympic scheduling strategy, I will be in heaven for a little while.
I think it's going to be amazing because, I mean, we now know that the teams are switched. In the East is playing in the West, and the West is playing in the East.
Oh, we do know that.
Which means that there's going to be... They confirmed that. So the East is playing out of Edmonton, and the West is playing out of Toronto.
Oh.
So you're going to have your Western teams on almost earlier times, but we also know it's going to be throughout the whole day. So you're going to have, obviously, one of the Western teams playing at a later date in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting they do that because, like, really the fans watching will be a little bit off. Like, if they have a...
There's going to be hockey on from 1 o'clock until 12 midnight every day. So it's not going to matter what time frame you're in or time zone you're in. It really won't. It's just who you might watch.
Fuck yeah.
Can't wait.
Oh,
right, I got to go. My dog's freaking out. I got to take him outside.
Sounds good, dude. Nice talking to you. We'll hopefully maybe next week or whatnot.
Yeah, let's try to get, if this starts going, I'd like to do maybe not like an hour and a half, 2 hour one, but maybe just do a couple, 2 quick 1 hour quick summaries, like in the week, or if there's been a crazy
That's what I'm doing, like with baseball.
Like
I don't know if you go on the channel that we post.
Watch 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, my plan, whether I can have the commitment to do it, is to do a video a day. So they're only like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but that's what I'm planning to do for baseball season. So whether we do something for hockey too, that'd be cool. Alrighty.
Okay. Perfect, man.